One last offseason move could be on the way for the Houston Rockets, as questions still remain on whether or not this team has enough point guards to help facilitate the offense. And so, in this video, we are going to break down a new report that lists 3 free agents that the Houston Rockets can go after and solidify that third point guard position. And we're going to talk about all of that right here on this episode of Rockets Digest. I'm your host, Donovan Ricondo. And as always, we appreciate you guys for joining us. We're so close to 4,000 subscribers. We're 30, I believe, or 28 away as of this recording. So if you have not already, go ahead, hit that subscribe button below if you want to stay up to date on all your Rockets content. We have got you covered right here. Now, there's been a lot of talk on whether or not there's going to be any more moves that GM Rafael Stone is going to make for the Houston Rockets. And we're pretty set as a roster. GM Rafael Stone has talked about how the team you see right now after the trade of Cam Whitmore will probably be the team that we have going into the 2025-2026 regular season. But there is still a question that kind of remains that's been lingering around the team of whether or not a point guard position player will be added to this team. Yes, we have Fred VanVleet, who signed to an extension or a new deal about a few weeks ago now, signing him to that, locking him down for the next 2 years. And also there's this new kind of insight of Reed Sheppard being the 2 guy, right? The backup point guard, who Rafael Stone said just needs to be good for us. Flat out, just that was it. Meant a few words. Reed Sheppard needs to be good. And so hopefully in Summer League he gets some of those minutes, get some of that playing time, get some of that experience that could lead into the regular season. Now, of course, we still have some bench guys that can help facilitate and be that point guard. But at the same time, does a move make sense here? Well, one author from Sports Illustrated seems to think so, and seems to think that there's 3 guys out there who are still free agents, both unrestricted and restricted, that could find their way wearing a Houston Rockets uniform in the near future. So I'm going to go ahead and give you those 3 guys, as well as my opinion on them and their fit on this roster. The first guy to mention is Malcolm Brogden, who last played for the Washington Wizards. As many of you are familiar with him and his work, despite an injury-riddled 2024-25 season, Brogden logged 24 games with Washington, averaging 12.7 points, 4.1 assists, and 3.8 rebounds. While he may not be a dazzling guard, Brogden has proven himself to be a key role player for 5 different franchises already, and on a team-friendly deal. He could see the Rockets as his 6th team. That is Alec Elijah from Sports Illustrated. And so Malcolm Brogdon is not by any means a terrible player. He's solid for the times he does play. Yes, last year he was suffering from a lot of injuries, but still managed to put up pretty solid numbers for the games that he did play. The only thing that concerns me with Malcolm Brogdon is there space for him to work, essentially, for him to do his thing. This roster is kind of jam-packed. We see that, that report was like, 6th man. He could be the 6th man. But at this point, looking at the Rockets, I feel like we kind of have our 6th man in Tari Eason, right? I feel like he is going to step up, be that guy. Dorian Finney-Smith, also a 6th man, who could also easily start for Jabari Smith or whoever. Either one of those guys, to me, is already that 6th man. And of course, the other concern with this is just the contract situation. He was making a lot of money last year. We don't want to. The Rockets front office does not want to put a lot of cap on a player that they don't necessarily need. He's going to be 33 next year. He does provide experience. He does provide that veteran leadership, but the past 2 years was making quite a bit of money that I just don't think makes sense for the Rockets to put down. Great player, not saying he isn't, but I don't think the price is right for the Houston Rockets. I think it's a bit too steep and not something that they should do. Okay, so that's the first one. What was the other player that this article suggested could be added to this Rockets roster? Well, that other player is Cory Joseph, who they had this to say, saying, quote, coming off a solid year with the Orlando Magic, where Joseph logged 50 games, he found himself in an overflowed guard room, limiting his time on the court. As he looks for his next franchise, the Rockets could be a solid option for the NBA journeyman, who could be a great addition to Houston's guard room, which is not as full as other teams in the league, end quote. So Cory Joseph remains another guy that can be on this team. For those unfamiliar, recently with the Orlando Magic, has played for a lot of different teams in his NBA career. What I do find fascinating about Cory Joseph is his relationship with Ime Udoka. Ime Udoka being a San Antonio assistant for many years, Cory Joseph having played on that team. They're already familiar with each other. There is that already. And there's also a little bit of a Texas connection. Texas X's. Cory Joseph going and having played at the University of Texas. Of course, that Kevin Durant also played there. DJ Augustine, who's in the front office, also played there. Royal Ivy has a relationship there as well, being one of the coaches there on the staff. And so maybe that is some reason to, of course, it's not the only reason to sign a player by any means. But for what the Rockets need, right, for what they need is just another extra guy, just to have a little bit more depth to their roster. They have space available. Why not sign someone like Cory Joseph, who can help, not only teach Reed Sheppard and gain that extra veteran leadership and try to, give him some tips here and there, having been in the NBA, been able to sustain a career for so long in the NBA is impressive. There are certainly some things he can pass down to Reed Sheppard, who's only going to get better as a player. Like he is going to get better. He is an absolutely fantastic shooter and just needs the opportunity to play. I believe he will, in fact, blossom. But there's a lot of upside in getting a guy like Cory Joseph, who, quite frankly, the price isn't that much for a guy like him, who his most recent salary was around $3 million, which is about as much as you would want to spend in this kind of situation. Getting yourself a guy you're not going to play every day, play every game, but just have just in case, right? To build some roster depth. And so to me, this makes a lot of sense considering the college connection, how much he would cost. His stats aren't, I'm going to be honest, they're not fantastic, right? He's not he's not Magic Johnson by any means, but still, he provides just an extra oomph to him that can be something that this Rockets team needs. Help out practices and training Reed Sheppard and just giving that extra oomph, which I think this team really, really deserves. 40% from the field as well. And so I think he could be a good addition, quite frankly. I do think he is someone that would be worth going after if it all lines up, right? The price is not too high, not too steep. The connection, I believe that is a good fit to the roster for what exactly we need. But there's another third player that this article mentions, and that is none other than Bones Highland, who had this to say, or Alec Elijah had this to say from Sports Illustrated, saying, quote, playing for 4 franchises and 4 seasons, Highland is once again on the hunt for a new franchise where he can prove to be of value too. With the Houston Rockets in need of shooting, the front office could potentially inquire about Highland joining their guard room to provide some much-needed depth and a sharp-shooting role player off the bench. And so as far as his stats, how he's shooting, 39% from the field, 39% from three-point line, which is pretty solid for the 24-year-old, 6.2 points per game, a rebound assist per game as well. And so he's very young. He's, in some ways a young NBA journeyman, having played for 4 teams in 4 years, hasn't really quite found his home, found his place to develop. And, the Rockets could be that place, considering the upside that you see, the shooting, just more guard depth. It might be worth the price, right? The price, again, is not that much compared to what he was getting paid recently, around the $2 million, $3 million mark, is something that you would get for a guy like Bones Highland, who was on a 2-way contract a couple years ago. And so this, or a year ago rather. And so this could be another cheap option who is a player that can offer just a little bit more of that guard depth that this team, could use, right? By no means are these players, again, these are not players that are going to go in, start day one, and score 20 points a game. No, these are depth talks we're talking about. And so a guy like Bones Highland could be exactly what GM Rafael Stone's looking for, Emil Udoka is looking for. You just got rid of Cam Whitmore, and so you don't really have you have Reed Shepherd as that young developmental project. You could also have Bones Highland. Maybe you see something in him and you can develop and make him kind of just be the player that he was meant to be heading into his draft year, with all hype surrounding him as well. And so those are the three players that this article mentions: Bones Highland, Cory Joseph, and Malcolm Brogden. And Malcolm Brogden, my opinion, the best player out of all of those. However, I do think the price is just too steep. Bones Highland would be a great get, quite frankly. I think it would be a solid, not too expensive at all. But I do think the best out of these three is Cory Joseph. I think Cory Joseph offers exactly what we would need in the guard position, but that is just me. Let me know in the comments, which of these three guys would you be willing to sign to this team for next season? And if not any of these guys, which guys should we go after that are still on the market that you feel would be a good fit for this team? Let me know in the comments. And as always, hit that subscribe button below. We're trying to get to 4,000. We're so close. And thank you so much for tuning in. This has been another episode of Rockets Digest. We'll see you on the next one.